Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cherish Ephesians 6:4, and this week's article is titled, God Has a Wonderful Plan for Your Life, or Does He? It's the end of the year, and that means it's a time of reflection for all of us. January 1st will soon be here, but it's too early to talk about New Year's resolutions. It's time to look back to the prior January and review the landscape of our lives in 2023. There's also a time for traditions, and one of those is to watch the heartwarming movie, It's a Wonderful Life. My wife and I watched it the other day, and as usual, tears flowed throughout the viewing. I fear I'm getting a little too soft in my maturing years. But more on the movie later. Watching the movie prompted me to ask the questions. What is a wonderful life? And do I have one? If we look up a few synonyms for the word wonderful, you get words like amazing, brilliant, perfect, ideal, and magnificent. Wow, if that's what a wonderful life is, I don't know anyone who has one. But then I tried to put my own stamp on the wonderful life by asking myself the question, when does my life seem to be wonderful to me? And I guess it comes down to things going the way I'd like them to go. When everything goes my way, I'm happier and lighthearted, and I have an extra bit of energy in my steps. As a result of everything going my way, I'm also less stressed and even nicer to other people, particularly my wife. Unfortunately, using my own definition for a wonderful life, I guess I could say that I had a wonderful life in about 25% of 2023. I also thought about something I heard from many preachers years ago that wanted to get people to believe in Jesus. They would say, God loves you and has a wonderful plan for your life. Now, there was some truth to that statement, but they didn't tell the whole truth. Many people made professions of faith in Jesus based on that message, but later found out that their lives were anything but wonderful. And sadly, many of those who put their trust in God became disappointed, disillusioned, and even angry with God when they experienced a terrible life and subsequently left Christianity. It seemed to them like God had not fulfilled the promises that those preachers made on his behalf. Where can we find a wonderful life? Well, don't ask the mother who's cowering with her children in an air raid shelter in Ukraine. Don't ask the wives of the soldiers who've not come back from the front lines or came back with arms and legs missing. Don't ask the citizens of Russia who walk like zombies through their day after years and years of oppression they are powerless to change. Don't ask the Christians who must worship in secret in China. Don't ask any of the converts to Christianity in the Muslim world who fear they may be executed if they openly profess their faith. Don't ask the Israelites or the Palestinians who live with a never-ending threat of conflict. Don't ask the millions of people around the globe who face each day with one goal in mind, to get enough food and water to survive until tomorrow. And then there are the violent rebels in the Philippines, the killer drug cartels of Mexico and Colombia, the oppressors of women in Afghanistan, and the victims of the worldwide sex trade. Need I go on? Well, what about right here in our own backyard? How many people are thinking about their lives right now and are not even considering a wonderful life because they are in so much pain? Looking back on 2023, they reflect on the destruction of their family because of a divorce, or they've lost a loved one to death, or they've lost a child to a perverted lifestyle, have lost a job, or fallen into a life of drugs and alcohol. Wonderful life? Those two words are not part of their vernacular. And this is where I want to mention that I'm going to deviate from my usual target audience. If you read or listen to my articles, you know that I write to people who are already Christians and desire to think about their Christian lives in a way that honors God in all they do. However, this article is directed to those who are Christians and those who are not. So if you know someone who has had a terrible year, you may want to share this with them. To those who are not Christians, I will tell you the whole truth about God's wonderful plan. The truth is that this world is a mess, and it's because people refuse to acknowledge that God exists, so they continue to do whatever they want to do, and those things ultimately lead to misery. Sure, you know that there are many things you can do to get a moment of peace and joy, but it never lasts. It can't, because the hole that you're trying to fill can only be filled by the one who created it for himself, and that is God. So whatever short-term joy you may experience is counterfeit, and the need for more joy comes back around like a merry-go-round. That wonderful plan that God has for you, it's freedom from the merry-go-round. The fact is that people have always been on the merry-go-round, and it's darkness that keeps them from finding the light of true life. God tells us this: the people dwelling in darkness have seen a great light, and for those dwelling in the region and shadow of death, on them a light has dawned. That light is Jesus Christ, and he is the light that shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot overcome it. Specifically, he offers you forgiveness for the years of ignoring God and disobeying his laws. He can lift the weight of guilt and confusion that every person who does not have a life that walks with him. He has the power to break the powerful bonds of addiction, depression, despair, or anything that is destroying you. And he, Jesus Christ, is willing to take the punishment from God on himself so you won't have to. But you must be willing to admit your disobedience to him and pledge your allegiance to live your life in a way that honors him. But know this: a life with Jesus is not a life free from all of the misery of this world. There will be times of suffering and pain, but the wonderful part is that he will give you the strength to endure all of it and to do it with joy. This is a wonderful plan. To those who are already Christians, you have the wonderful life. However, there are seasons of life where God sends us challenges in order to draw us more closely to him. It is necessary for him to do this because we do not naturally grow in our faith and love for what he has done for us. Do you remember when you wanted nothing more in this life but to talk about and obey Jesus? Our God buckets were filled to the brim with God. But then we tried to stuff some other things in the bucket that was only meant for God, and in the process some of our love for God was pushed out. God will allow that situation for a while, but if we don't walk with him in our lives, he will begin to remove the loves that we have in this world until we ditch the things of the world and go back to him. This too is part of God's wonderful plan for us. If we belong to him, like a good father, he will not let us drift away because he and his ways are truly the best things for us. Finally, let's go back to the movie It's a Wonderful Life. Sure, I know there are a lot of things in the movie that are unbiblical, but the writer is successful in forcing us to take note of at least 6 things. It recognizes the sovereignty of God over our lives, the purpose that God has for every person, the love of God for his creatures, the beauty of friends, the faithfulness of God, and the need to be thankful for everything God brings our way. And whether you're a Christian or not, you need to see this movie every year around this time. It's Christmas time, and it's time to think back to that time when the Son of God was born into this world to live and die for sinners. The time we celebrate the true light, which gives light to everyone, was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made through him, yet the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own people did not receive him. But to all who did receive him, who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God, who were born not of blood, nor of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. Merry Christmas. See you next time.